I'll call this video, which I'm filming on November the 30th, steel helmets and steel making, because I intend to talk a lot about steel. You'll notice also that I've got Floki's guy liner on, and I'll provide a link in the comments below how to do this makeup scheme on your own, from no less august a personage than the head makeup artist for the TV show Vikings himself, Tom McElnerney. Now, you'll notice that I have my Stahlhelm with me. This is the World War II German Army helmet, fighting helmet, if you will. The famous coal scuttle helmet, and its official name was the Stahlhelm, the steel helmet. And it has flanges for the ears. You'll notice that most modern militaries have a variation of the Stahlhelm helmet. And that's because it works. It protects the ears, protects the head, and affords protection all the way around. That's the format for the helmets used by the U.S. military and a number of other militaries throughout the world, such as the Canadian military and so on. Unfortunately, the modern helmets are made out of Kevlar, which is a plastic, and plastic has its own drawbacks that steel doesn't have, which we'll get into in a minute. The Stahlhelm steel helmet was made from steel, and steel is a very interesting substance. It's the most common industrial building material of them all. Even, I suppose, concrete is used more, but steel is used a lot. And that's because it's very hard, has a high tensile strength, and is very easy to produce from pig iron or whatever iron you have. Through the Bessemer process. The Bessemer process of the blast furnace basically made it very much easier to produce large quantities of good steel. Until the Bessemer process became widespread, steel was by no means common, and it was kind of luck. And a number of materials can be included in steel, primarily carbon, and it's a carbon alloy with iron that produces steel. 2.1% by weight or more carbon produces, with iron, produces steel. Now, chromium, or in oxidizable steel, inox, a brand name, must be, in addition to 2.1 or more carbon by weight, 10.5% chromium by weight. And chromium steel is extremely corrosion resistant. It'll take centuries for it to rust or anything else. And that's because chromium does not react with oxygen. And chromium steel, stainless steel, forms a barrier of chromium oxide on the outside, which prevents wear at all. Various other materials can be included in steel to make a variety of things. For example, if steel is alloyed with tungsten, you get high-speed steel, and that's used in tool heads and things like that. Manganese and related materials can be included in steel to make very strong steel, very hard steel, suitable for tool bits like axe blades and drill bits and so on. Titanium can be used to make it very light and strong. Vanadium, very hard and strong. That's vanadium's primary use. All of these materials can be used to make paints: titanium, vanadium, chromium. But they also make very good steel. And the primary process to make steel is to drive air into it and therefore burn off the carbon. And until the Bessemer process of blacksmithing, or of blast furnacing became common, it was sort of a windy day you made steel on. And you had a variety of funnels to channel the airflow into the steel or into the iron, and charcoal. Now we use coke because it's much more space efficient, but in days of yore it was charcoal would be used to provide the carbon alloy with iron to make steel. Damascus steel is a sandwich of steel and whatever other metals. And the impurities cementite in pig iron, which makes pig iron very strong but doesn't make it steel because it's too much carbon, would be literally squeezed out. So Damascus steel is how you include the properties of other metals in steel. So, and I kind of thought that this would be a useful video for chemistry students. I see that it's not turning out that way, but that's what I thought, because you know, a lot of it is the properties of steel. And you know, by the way, you'll also notice that I have a cold, and I apologize for that. I'm taking steps, but what do you do? In any event, China is the #1 steel producer in the world, followed by the United States and Canada and Russia and Brazil. Basically the big nations. They determine membership in the industrial club through steel making. And steel making is used as an indicator of the economic health of a given country. The more steel they make, the better they're doing. The tremendous infrastructure boom in China and India in the early part of the 2000s, ending with the Great Recession in 2008, they had a tremendous appetite for steel as they built infrastructure, apartment buildings, roads, you name it, as part of their great expansion. And since everything has slowed down following 2008, not so much, but they're trying. They're doing what they can. And as steel production goes, so goes the economic fate of the world. And you know, there hasn't been a lot of steel production made in this post 9/11, post Great Recession of 2008 world. So when steel picks up, or steel production picks up, the economy of the world picks up. That's kind of a truism and an indicator, and I've long sought those indicators. This is also a bit of an update video too. But I'm focusing on steel, and it was really the widespread use of the Bessemer or blast furnace process that drove the steel production of the Industrial Revolution along. And with the Industrial Revolution came an increased appetite for steel, and the Bessemer process, the blast furnace process, made steel production possible. So that's necessity is the mother of invention once again.